Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Turf Today podcast. You are a busy man right now. I have to applaud you for all the work you've been putting in the past couple of days. It's been amazing seeing all the content.
I'm a tired man right now too.
Oh, I
I
can
appreciate
imagine.
that.
You're living the greenkeeper lifestyle right now, and you're on that schedule, so that's got to be exciting.
Yeah, it's extremely exciting, man. There's a lot of fun stuff going on. But yeah, these weeks, it's funny. I always joke with the guys, it's like a series of naps. You never really know what day it is or anything like that. It's like, you go to the morning shift, you head back, you take a nap, you come back for the evening shift, you go home, you take another nap, and so on and so on. I was talking to a guy this morning, and he's like, I woke up, got up at 3. I'm like, all right, I'm tired, but it's awesome. It's Wednesday. We're ready to go. Like, no. It's Tuesday, man. It's
Yeah,
only Tuesday. So
it's so
it's a
funny. Yeah.
marathon. It's a marathon. Awesome feedback from everyone. Talking to a lot of guys out here. Love what's going on with us, the merger, seeing everything on Instagram through Turf Today. They're so stoked that this is all happening here, and it's been fun just sharing some original content behind the scenes here from the PGA Championship and pushing this all out through all of our platforms. So exciting stuff to hear from the industry.
Yeah, man, that's so huge. Same thing on our side. We've been getting a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people are very excited about everything kind of coming together. And I know for myself, Turf Today was just started as a bit of a COVID project and quickly turned into something that's really big and the community really supports. And it's kind of been a big collection of showcasing everybody's talents. And my goal, no, I should say my goal, my dream was always, it'd be cool to be at the tournaments and at the golf courses to cover all this stuff, and you were right down the way thinking the exact same thing, and together now we're able to be there and put it out to a big network. So it's only going to benefit the industry more as we grow and do more of this stuff.
Absolutely. And especially when we start getting you on site to some of these things. So
I am so jealous right now getting to see all that stuff. I gotta say, Mark Prier called me last night at 10 o'clock at night. Like, I felt bad kind of texting you around 9 o'clock. I figured that's a little late. You guys are going to bed. Big work today, but he calls me at 10 o'clock at night last night. And so it's just
that's
so funny.
awesome.
The camaraderie down there, everybody's in such a great mood and people are so excited to work together. So as we go through these tournaments, I think it's going to be a very common theme and hopefully, get more people involved in the industry and volunteering at these tournaments.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you mentioned just some of the excitement and all that kind of stuff when people get together. I've been describing it this week to people as it's almost like a wedding, when your family and friends come in and it's like a big reunion of all the people you haven't seen in a while and all that, and you're there to celebrate someone special. It's like that's what it feels like. It's just like everyone comes up to each other like, "Oh my gosh, it's so great to see you. How exciting is this?" Blah blah blah. It's got that a little bit of that vibe. It's just hard to describe really what it's like to get all these people all working towards one common goal, celebrating John and the entire team here at Valhalla and the accomplishments that they've been able to pull off here leading up to this event, and then obviously this week. Um, it's a cool vibe, and I'm excited for our guest today. Thomas, being a PGA Tour agronomist, being able to go around and this is what he does. He's at these things all the time. He's in this environment nonstop. So yeah, it's gonna be fun to talk to him about that, learn from his experiences, and kick around a couple stories. Thomas and I go pretty far back, so it'll be fun to kick around a few stories and chat with him just about the whole tournament experience.
Right on. Yeah, that's going to be good. He's another exciting guest for us to have here as we transition into the new phase of the show. And I think that's a great way of putting it. It is kind of like a wedding. It's very, everybody's very positive about everything. Everyone's on the same team, the same side. And I would imagine at something, that magnitude or that many people working together, if something did go wrong, it would probably be very minuscule and very kind of unnoticed. So I think just everybody being there, pushing the ball the same direction and working hard, you get that big camaraderie and that excitement that goes on in the crew. And if people haven't been a part of that, it's definitely something to check out. And we talk about the networking you can get from that. There's only so many people that are be on your side in your life, and being in this turf industry, I think a lot of the people you meet will be some of your best friends and biggest supporters. So that's it's great to see that that's continuing on.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we put out post yesterday about volunteers, and the response from that has been so good, and seen a lot of comments and everything. People, mentioning how they volunteered at something X number of years ago, and they still talk to people from the other side of the country or different country or whatever it may be. They talk to them 8, 9, 10 years later. They're some of the best friends because they spend a week raking bunkers together or on the same greens route or something like that, volunteering at a tournament. But yeah, I mean, it's such a great opportunity to meet people from all over. There's 100 and I think Justin said like 110, 111 volunteers here this week. They're from all over the world. You've got them from the States, you've got them from Canada, you've got them from England, you've got them from Germany, you've got people from just all over that are coming together here in Louisville, Kentucky, of all places, for the PGA Championship,
Yeah.
rooming in, comfort suites or whatever hotel we're staying in, running these multiple shifts a day. Today, they're probably out there. They're probably out there with squeegees. I'm missing a little bit of the action here right now with the between shifts. We've got some downpours coming in, so I'm sure there's a skeleton crew kind of standing by, waiting to push some water around as needed. I think it's forecasted about 3/4 of an inch or something here today. Um, but yeah, just people, I mean, from all over coming together again, one goal, and that's one of the things we talk about um, whenever I go and do some interviews with a lot of these directors and superintendents and leaders at various clubs is that culture, right? And it's creating a mission and getting everyone on board to work towards that mission. And those places that have that vision in place and are able to communicate it with their team members, from the high school kid that's working hourly all the way up to, their highest level of salary employees, being able to develop that culture, being able to share your vision, your expectations and all that just leads to success. And here they've done a phenomenal job with that here at Valhalla. Sorry,
Yeah.
that might have been a ramble. Again, I'm a little tired, so if I get on tangents here and don't answer certain questions, you'll have to excuse me.
No, it's all good. It's all good, man. I think you nailed it there. It's definitely a great experience. We've had a
You're
few
good.
people ask us about the fantasy football. What do you want to call it? The punishment. So I guess that's something you're going to get to see towards the end of the week. So we won't be able to tell people about it this week, but on next week's show, hopefully we can share that because we've already had a few
Yeah.
messages about that. So it's cool. People have already listened to the episode and we've already getting feedback, but we won't have an answer till next week.
It's going to be epic. I can't wait for
Yeah.
it. So
Have you heard about it a little bit?
I already know what's going on
Oh, geez.
100%.
Okay.
The
Okay.
the
Nice.
loser already knows what's going on too. So
Nice.
so yeah, and I don't think John would mind or anyone would mind, because this isn't going to come out until after the PGA Championship's over, but I think Friday night in the evening maintenance shift, during dinner, the loser of their fantasy football league is going to have to get up and sing the national anthem in front of the entire tent of 100 plus volunteers. They're doing a wives celebration, I believe, that night as well.
Nice.
So a bunch of the wives are going to be in there. And yeah, he's gonna have to get up and he's gonna have to sing the national anthem. And I told John and the team, I said, yeah, you better believe I'm gonna have my microphone on him and I'm going to be recording the entire thing, and I will certainly help add a little, or rub a little salt in the wound, and his punishment's gonna go out via the network and Turf Today. So
That's
absolutely, it's
fantastic.
gonna be a little extra shame for him. It's gonna be a blast. They do say though he's the kind of guy that would probably go out and like invest in vocal lessons and all that kind of stuff,
Oh,
knowing
wow.
exactly
Yeah.
what he's in
Okay.
for. So we'll see.
Nice. Be a little bit of a production for him. I like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be fun to see him again, sleep deprived and all that fun stuff,
Hmm.
just to see if he remembers all the words and all that.
That's true. Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I
I'm
mean,
pretty
if you're
pumped.
gonna do it, you may as well do it right. You may as well just
Yeah.
pull out all the stops and do
Y-
it right.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's it. Get prepared. He knows what he's in for, so let's do it. Yeah, it's cool. And that's again, just going back to the whole tournament experience. These are the little things that create memories, right?
Hmm.
Someone 10 years down the road is gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I remember when he had to, sing the national anthem for us during the event, blah blah blah." Mark, we talked about Mark on his greens, or excuse me, his fairway mowing crew. They created this little fairway crew dance that they do at the end of their shift. That was on that volunteer video on Monday.
Oh my gosh.
It's just like these guys, it's just fun. It's hard work. It's serious work, but I mean, come on, we know what everyone's like, in this industry. It's business, but at the end of the day, work hard, play hard, and these guys have a good time. They have a great time. So, volunteers, they'll maybe meet out at the local watering hole and, have one or two drinks, share some stories, and crash and wake up and do it again. But I mean, they're just fun weeks, man. They're just a lot of fun.
Yeah. You're gonna get that with this industry. It's a work hard, play hard industry for sure.
Totally.
The other post I wanted to ask you about, and I'm not sure if you picked up on this one. We a couple days ago asked, just what people's favorite jobs were. I was really
Hmm.
interested to see if there was a common theme. If people really like changing cups or it was mowing fairways or something like that. And I was blown away to see the variety of different answers. That there seems that I don't know if, at different courses people have this same specific job every day, or people switch their jobs around throughout the week, but it seemed like people like doing different things, and I thought that was really good and really interesting for our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. It's people like different things. Some guys are okay with the monotony of jumping on a rough mower and, plug in some AirPods and listen to something for a while. Other guys need a little more energy, and whether it's walk mowing greens, changing cups, something like that, just something to mix it up a little bit. Yeah, it is cool to see. I did see that. There were like 100 or 200 comments, something like that on that, people replying what their favorite jobs are. So yeah, it is neat to see the variety. And this week they usually they'll assign people a singular task.
Hmm.
So if you're on a greens route or something, you're going to be on a greens route every morning. Some crews, fairway crew, they mowed fairways in the morning. They didn't do it last night, and those guys went out and filled divots. But that's an opportunity for them to walk up a fairway as a group of 8 guys with buckets in hand and all that, and just sit there and tell jokes and stories and that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. And again, create that camaraderie. But yeah, there are so many different assignments, just on a day-to-day business or day-to-day um, standpoint, let alone, tournament time. So it is cool just to see the variety of things that people enjoy out here.
Yeah, and it could be people that get into an operator role, so they start off working the golf course doing different things, and then they find a good operating role, whether it's mowing rough or
Yeah.
cutting fairways or something like that. For me, I always like doing something different, whether it was
Yeah.
changing holes one day or spraying the next day. It was just good to mix it up a little bit. I
Yeah.
think when you do get down to tournament time or member guest or a club championship, you definitely want to have your best people on their best tasks and kind of put your best foot forward. So for a tournament, I would imagine guys would just stick to their same jobs all week.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's like you said. I mean, just on a daily operation side of things, there's just so much variety because there's, that's the beauty of a golf course. It's a living, breathing environment. So something's always changing. So you're going to be doing something different. And that's one of the things that I hear all the time when I ask people what their favorite thing about the industry is, and it is that variety, right? You're not doing the same thing every single day. But yeah, yeah, come tournament time, like you mentioned, you're going to want to get your best on certain areas. Most tournaments will do some sort of questionnaire for volunteers, get their comfort level on operating certain equipment, get their comfort level changing holes, whatever it may be. So they can identify the people that they know they can trust in certain roles, people that have operated the same type of equipment that they use at this location, whatever it may be, to again, identify the people they want in certain roles. And a lot of times it's guys that come from clubs where, an assistant has been in the past, or guys that have worked at this club in the past. So they'll have a comfort level already with the people that are coming in for the week, and can easily place them in different parts of the operation for the week.
Absolutely.
Thomas,
Hey, what's going on?
how are you, sir?
Huh, good.
You
Recovering.
recovering? Did you go on a bike ride this morning?
No, that was yesterday.
Yesterday? How long?
Oh, no, just a normal little out and back kind of thing. So,
20 miles?
nah, a little more. We're
Just a,
good.
just a
Yeah,
quick
okay.
quick 30 miles a day, something like that. No
Yeah,
big deal.
yeah. Thomas, Adam, Thomas.
What's up? How are
Good.
you?
Good, thank you. Good to meet you. I appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, is this kind of like your new better half there, Brian?
This is 100%. This is the guy that's going to make me look good.
Come
Y-
on, you'll do just fine. You were
Well, we'll
already
see.
good. You were already
Well,
good.
I appreciate that, but that's because I was on the other side of the camera. Now it's the camera's looking at me. That's a whole different ball game for me.
I feel out of place here. Like I should get some headphones or something.
Well,
Like hold on.
is that your gamer headphone?
There you go.
It
Are you
kind of
playing Call
is,
of
but
Duty with those things?
I don't know. I mean, you guys both have the headphone show going, so I'm like, okay, well, might as well.
Well,
Oh,
look, I
that's
was in the same
fantastic.
boat. Adam had to teach me how to do this thing the right way, the professional way. The audio, just plug it in here. I can hear myself. I can hear you. I can hear everything that's going on. It's a game changer, man. Appreciate you coming on short notice.
Hey, you just caught me in a good moment when I'm actually
I
home. So,
I was gonna say, I was telling Adam, I mean, you've probably got a busier travel schedule than I do. Tell us a little bit about what you've got going on.
it comes in waves. We do anywhere from 10 to 12 tournaments a year, and each one of those tournaments requires a 13-day kind of tournament stay the week before the tournament, the week of the tournament, and then anywhere from a 1 to 3 day kind of visit 8 weeks before the tournament to check, hey, how did things go from last winter? Kick the tires, any new equipment, any changes to the golf course. How are you doing? That sort of thing, just to kind of, work on the relationship rather than just coming into the tournament hot, so to speak. So, yeah, you put it all together, a seminar here or there, a GIS, and it's kind of in and around 200 days. So I always like to look at it though as I'm a home 165.
See, I need to
There
take
you
that
go.
advice. I need to start telling my
It's
wife
just
that.
kind of like, look. So in some instances, like I just got off a back-to-back, which was about 28 days. Um, I'm actually happier to get that kind of done because then it means I have more room, like free later, combined versus
Sure.
doing a tournament, having a week off, doing a tournament. No, let's just get it done. But you got to be worried when you don't have a tournament for a while because then you're like the days don't go away. So it's kind of like here it comes. So, but
When you're
yeah,
when you're in town here in a couple of weeks, you're gonna have to stop by and tell Lauren, give her that insight. Well, yeah, but he's home 165 days. That's great.
well, you need to include her.
I
At
do
least
my
one.
best.
I
I
know.
try
Hey,
to.
I've been with the tour now 7 years. Scary, and my wife knows four people. Like she's physically met four people on the PGA Tour. She's never been to a tournament, even though I'm not talking crap about you, honey. Um, you know, Pebble Beach or is maybe an hour and a half away. Napa is maybe an hour and a half away. We got two tournaments there. It's kind of like, and she always says she's like, wait till you get the Hawaii one, and then I'll come. And I'm like,
There you go. Nice.
so I guess she has standards. Wichita in July doesn't exactly stand up to gotta go kind of bland.
Are you gonna take her up to go see Gourlay? Are you gonna be up in
Oh, I
Idaho with
know.
Matt?
I'm there on Monday,
Oh,
so I
cool.
can't wait. I mean, we write these post-tournament reports, which are just really kind of to kind of summarize how things went during a tournament, areas that we feel like, we might be able to improve. And Matt is like taking that report and just like lit it on fire. Like I mean, he's so far and done over that. I mean, he's crushing it up there. Um, Punching holes in everything, sand everywhere. It's going to be exciting to see what he's done. In fact, he's already told me that I should expect aerification when we fly in. So
Yeah, I think I saw that on one of the message
he
boards, or it
he's
might have been a
oddly
text this
enough, he
morning.
posts everything on Twitter.
He
It's
does.
like, hey, we're changing cups today.
Yeah, that's because
You
he's
know,
looking for another ribbon to add to his plethora of master greenkeeper
yeah,
certified this, that, the other thing.
he is definitely the most ribbonous, decorated. Is that a word? Ribbonous?
We'll let
Uh,
you go with it.
okay, decorated person at the show, without a
Yeah,
doubt.
yeah, for sure.
So
For sure. How do you guys go about identifying which tournaments that you're going to go to throughout the year?
I'd love to know.
There's no pecking order or anything like that. It's just
Mm,
you're assigned with whatever. You don't get to pick, like, I want to go to, like you said, Hawaii. You got to wait for.
I know. I try to lobby for things, and I will tell you that if my lobbying skills were anything worthy with my boss Paul, I would I yeah, no, I suck because it just doesn't happen. The funny part is, like, for instance, I kind of I chide with him, and Paul, I hope you are not listening because you've already heard this. Um, you know, I I like traveling. It is just like I was telling somebody else on another podcast that I consider myself James Bond when I'm traveling through the airport. I stick to myself, I've head down, nothing ever bothers me, or I try not to let it bother me. I'm just kind of like there. I kind of move in and out the shadows. You wouldn't know that I went through the airport kind of thing. Um, and he's given me um 5 tournaments in California. And I'm like, dude, I'm not even
Yeah,
getting out of the state.
right.
I want to joke with people that, oh, we get a lot of crap for, can you swear on this podcast?
Absolutely.
It's fine.
Oh, okay. So I'm giving a lot of shit for coming from California, and even more so from San Francisco Bay Area. So I never lead with where I'm from San Francisco. I kind of lead with, I'm from Palo Alto, Stanford University, kind of entertaining around there. But doing 5 tournaments in California, I feel like I can't say, well, I'm a part-time resident of California, because the rest of the time I'm everywhere else but kind of California. So, but I mean,
It's a big state though, so you get a
it
lot.
is.
It's
There's a
true.
lot of
You can
room
be
to travel
flying
in
around.
Cali.
Oh my God, I am, and hey, truth be told, all the stops that I go to, I enjoy, and I'm in places that, okay, so I start in Palm Springs, which it's his own country. There's 123 golf courses down there. It's just like it's its own deal. And I grew up a kind of like a cool season grass jockey. So going down there and getting my overseed wings and warm season grass scenario down there more so is kind of cool. So then I go from there to Riviera Country Club at the Genesis. Okay, LA. Not a fan, but fan of the club, the course, that
Oh
sort of
yeah.
thing. I'll put up with it. I got another one down in Newport Beach. Doesn't suck. It's like on the beach, on the water.
Kind of
It's
nice.
kind of,
Yeah, I'll take that.
you kind of like, hey, Bastis, this sounds like, first class issues here. And
Right.
then I go to Lake Tahoe, which is, you'd have to pry that tournament from my dead hands.
Right.
That one from me. I mean, it's like it's my little love affair of a place to go. Everyone asks, like, oh, what course is your favorite? And you're like, yeah, well, Lake Tahoe, and it's not for doing, it's just for everything else around it. It's just so gorgeous.
Sure.
And
Good
then I
bike
go to
rides.
Napa, round it all out. The guy who likes Sauvignon Blanc so much that he's like, oh, and now you've got to go to
That's
Napa.
awesome.
So you're kind of like going, I really have no sympathy for you. So suck it. You're like, okay, here
And
we
then you
are.
go to Boise, Idaho.
And then Boise, although the Boise's getting swapped this year for the
Okay.
Olympics. So
Oh,
I get to
Ooh,
go to
okay.
Paris. Another, oh,
Yeah,
bummer.
wow. And
seriously.
is the wife going with you to Paris? She at
No,
least going
no,
to do that? She doesn't want to go to Paris with you?
it's not that, it's not that she doesn't want to go. I mean, the last time we were there was pre-kids, which is
Okay.
like,
Don't date
I can
yourself.
say
You
how
don't
many
need
years
to.
ago
They're
that was,
kindergartners, right?
but there's plenty of gray hair going on here. Fortunately, there's a little on top still.
Oh, it's looking good. Looking good.
I know it's just a little comb over kind of situation. Not
You
quite.
do look
I'm
like
still
James
good.
Bond.
James Bond. But I think it's first off, I'm doing a tournament immediately before, so I'm doing the Barracuda tournament up in Lake Tahoe. I drive down what I call the hill because from San Francisco, you kind of have to drive up to the top of Lake Tahoe, and then you come back down the hill. So I'm driving up the hill. I drive back down the hill after the tournament on Sunday, leave on Monday to go to France for 3 weeks. So now that's 5 weeks that I'll be out for that one. Again, squish them all in, baby. Let's get
Yeah.
it done.
Yeah.
But the security is going to be pretty stout. That getting guest passes and stuff like that is kind of. I think it would be the logistics of it would be not good, not
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. A little different than your typical tour event.
Yeah. Now, if she wanted to fly out after, and meet me in, Monte Carlo or,
Hey,
for a little Casino Royale,
that could work.
um, maybe like that would work. But, we've got two fur babies at home, our dogs, and leaving them would be kind of traumatic for her and me. I miss my dogs whenever I'm on the road. So the kids are the last one is leaving the house this year. So it's kind of like, oh, God. So
Already?
I know, dude.
Gosh, that's crazy. Yeah,
I
that's hard to
know.
believe. 7 years you've been there. I've known you for 7 years. It's
I
kids grow up, man.
kind of do. I'm afraid to say that I'm not staying static myself.
You look the same as when I first met you, man.
Thanks, honey.
You guys. So we heard one of them there, Thomas, Lake Tahoe being one of your favorite spots. What would be
Yeah.
the other two if we were going to do a top three for you? What would be the other two?
Well, obviously Muirfield Village.
No brainer.
Naturally.
Uh-huh. Um, so I like that one a lot. Actually, I just finished one in Myrtle Beach. The
Oh yeah.
superintendent there, Steve Hamilton, a crazy good guy. He's the director, the superintendent there, Josh Taylor. First time event, these guys absolutely took every morsel that we talked about during our pre-tournament visits. We made multiple other visits. The club supported them. We asked them to level tees. They did it. And the product that came out and the support from the community was something I have never seen before.
Awesome.
It was really, really special. And Myrtle Beach is kind of I wouldn't say it's a weird place, but it's kind of like we have a place in San Francisco. It's called Fisherman's Wharf. Have you ever been there?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you know that
Adam probably
there's
has that. Adam's up in Canada.
Have
He's
not
probably
made
never
that
been to the
trip yet.
Fisherman's
No.
Wharf.
okay. So it would be like Clifton Hill in Niagara Falls. It would be like the heavily touristed area where, as I say, there's a painted silver guy on every corner,
Nice.
being a
Nice.
mime. There's every chain, fast, like casual dining to Longhorns, Olive Garden, to if you want to go kart, paraglide, pop golf, um, eat at a restaurant with a big crab out front, all of that stuff. They've got it. They've got a 60 miles of that you can be a tour school or like a
Oh yeah.
Ripley's. Oh, it's kind of a little bit like when we go to GIS in Orlando. That
Oh yeah.
the
I
Ripley's or the
drive.
upside down building house. Everything's upside down. That's incredible. Or Ripley's, believe it or not.
Yeah.
It's got all of that. So
Yeah. Our family went and we did spring break down in Myrtle this year. I had an absolute blast. And then Carolina shows in Myrtle Beach every
sure.
year. And that's tell you what, that's for a regional show. I mean, that thing it's phenomenal. It's just a cool place. I think Myrtle Beach gets a bad vibe as like one of those tourist traps but every time I go, I have an absolute blast. There's just so much to do there. And,
Yeah.
especially November, like it's a little bit on the shoulder season. So there aren't as many people running around doing crazy stuff, but I always have a blast on there. How much did the course engage? I saw a bunch of stuff from Jim Huntoon down there with his Horry Georgetown crew.
Yeah.
Did he have a bunch of students down there helping out for the week?
Oh, absolutely. And I learned that it's Ori Georgetown.
Horry George.
You don't pronounce
Ooh.
the H.
Sorry to all the mole crickets out there. Horry
Exactly.
Georgetown.
Fighting mole crickets. Who knew? That's
I
kind of
know.
funny.
I know.
It's just like Boise. Jim was great. I mean, Granger's there too, and they had Steve, I think, geared up. He had at least, I think 7 on his staff that were students,
Oh, cool.
or at least staying until the tournament, and then they were going to get farmed off to all these other clubs and the like. So they had a decent showing. I mean, there was probably 10. And then on top of that, anybody who's ever worked for Steve came back. Um, so it was really cool. And then all the superintendents from the area, it was very pro Myrtle Beach. Like, let's do this for Myrtle Beach kind of thing. Let's get ourselves back in the mind. I mean, the last time that they held an event was a Champions Tour event. I think it was like 2007 or 8 was kind of like the last year. So they've never had a PGA Tour event. And you're like, why? We had 15,000 people on Saturday, for what we would call an opposite field event, opposing event where, Quail Hollow was only 3 hours away.
Right.
And we had 15,000 people going nuts. It was so cool. I like, what?
It's so great for the
So,
game though to see that.
oh my God, it was awesome. They had like a cool little fan zone for the kids that they could kind of run around and not, run into play. Um, Pop Golf was there, so they could have a little miniature putt area. A little something for the adults as well. There was some seating and some beverages, so sponsored.
You gotta have
Uh,
that.
Cadillac was there, and everyone that it was in Myrtle Beach took advantage of it. And I can't imagine what next year is going to be. And everybody on the staff was so cool. They had, their mechanic, Chad we had a great fun time there as well. All their staff was awesome. And they just did everything right. And if they didn't get it right, it wasn't like, oh shucks. It was like, how do we get better? It just such the right attitude all the way around. It's not to say that my other places don't do that, but it was a first year event. They just went into it like wide-eyed and kind of ready for everything, which was super cool. So
That's
that would
really
be my
cool.
second one for this year.
That's number two. Yeah. So
Yeah,
what would
maybe
number
get
three be then?
supplanted by France, but I don't, we'll
Gotta
see.
gotta imagine that one's gonna be hard to beat.
Yeah, that would be
I don't
tough.
know. French food for 3 weeks.
Do you think it's a little bit different though, having to deal with the Olympics, or is it going to be very similar to how it kind of works on the PGA?
Well, I'm game for anything. If there's one thing that I like is I actually like change. I like breaking it, putting it back together, see if it got better. Um, you could ask my old assistant Javier at Cal Club. He's like, he might say differently. He's like, Bastis, everyone's going home in half an hour. Why are you starting a new project? It's like, because we still have 30 minutes. Um, but right off the bat, what's different is we're doing both the men and the women.
True.
So it'll be my first time working, doing the women's side of golf. And they play after the men. So
Same golf course?
yeah, it's going to be same golf course. So it's going to be like, hey, fortunately, Muirfield Village kind of gave me a good start. We did a back-to-back tournament, which was the work day and then the memorial. So I'm at least I can say I've done, conditioning through a stretch. Like, how do you really, it's about pacing yourself. And where are the points that you need to turn up or down, that have the most effect on the championship quality there. And a lot of it is just, it's water, not that we want to soften up anything, but if given enough time to finish one going to another, I mean, they don't go we'll have the first week as a men finishing on Sunday, and then the women would start, like say, for instance, on Thursday, they get their chance to play their practice rounds and the like, that we
Hmm.
can kind of softly dial down or softly dial up. I mean, there's different requirements for both, not to say that anybody is relaxing anything for anyone. So,
And of
there's
course,
there's different.
Mother Nature is
Yeah,
always
and
a big
then
part of
you
it.
get Mother Nature too. You know, maybe it rains, so we're all kind of at it. But anyone who's doing the event, it's a 2 week commitment on the volunteer side of things.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and then they've got some labor law kind of stuff that you have to navigate where the French employees can't work a certain amount of hours. So it's a unique challenge, or neat unique opportunity. Put that in a different way, a unique opportunity.
There you
You're
go.
you're
So
you're such a pro. I had that question teed up talking about the 2020. I actually texted Chad this morning if you had any questions I should ask you. And I think the one that I can actually ask you on
why are you
air
talking
was
to
that one.
Thomas? Why are you talking to Thomas would be the first question.
No, no, no. There are several other that he sent, which again, many of them I probably can't ask you in a recorded session.
Why
Uh,
not?
yeah,
Do it. I'll just say
come on, you
no.
know, Chad. No.
Oh, where it's
We'll
Can't
we'll
imagine.
we'll get into your. I was gonna say we'll get into your two favorite volunteers later on, and it's not
Bates.
me. It's not me. Bates and Kilpeck strike again.
Oh,
But yeah, I mean, so you talked about the back to back. Talk about that experience. I mean, when I was there, I was there with you that entire 2-3 week stretch. They were two different golf courses. I mean, what we saw the first week with the work day was nowhere near what we saw the second week for the memorial. Talk about that experience back then.
well, the best part, I've been reading a little bit of Jocko Willink's book and building team, and I think why Chad and I work together, and again, relaying off of Jocko's his one of his books, is that you know pain brings people together to work as a team. If something is pain, hardship, those things, because real emotions and when it's done and over, there's a it leaves a mark, and hopefully a good mark. But because you can have too much pain for sure that fractures a team and the like. But having some sort of pain, struggle, or extreme sleep debt, I have your back, you have my back kind of scenario where in normal relationships that you don't really get the opportunity to do that. And that's kind of the unique thing with volunteering in itself is that the first day is easy, the second day is it's like, oh, okay, the third day, ooh, the fourth day, and that's the first day of the tournament. Like, this is the fourth day I've woken up at 3:30 in the morning and I've been here to 9 o'clock at night. There is a shared experience in that sleep deprivation, in that stay till it gets done kind of scenario. So with that specific event, there was a whole lot of sharing going on. And we had to, talk each other off the ledge. I might have, hyper focused on one thing to a point of oblivion, and Chad the same, and I had to talk him down. Chad is such a remarkable superintendent in that. In managing the crew was probably making sure everybody got enough sleep. These are all things that had nothing to do with the conditioning of the golf course. What played in our favor was the weather. We had the right winds on the right days, the amount of moisture that we were holding the first week, and then allowing to tail off. We told a really good story for that week, and you know, if you were to ask Chad a question, would you do it again? He would say, no, don't want to do that again.
Right, right.
So, and here I go, glutton for punishment, ready to learn more.
Get ready. Yeah, back to back
Uh,
again. Lucky you.
yeah, baby. Looking forward to it.
I gotta say, Thomas, this is really cool for us and our listeners and our community because I don't think we've had a PGA agronomist on the show yet. So I know looking at your profile and stuff, you were a golf course superintendent, obviously, before this. Just take us back to getting into that. You know, did you go to school beforehand? Were you just kind of a solid work experience guy, work your way up? Kind of how did it lead you all the way into this role now?
I don't know if I took a typical way to the profession. I think just as a person, I liked being outside, which I would assume would be the number one um, surveyed answer for superintendents is that they like to be outside. They like to work with their hands. The like where I stray is I think there was a poll that said that most superintendents would tend to like to work by themselves or a bit more on the introvert spectrum than that. And hopefully in this podcast, I'm probably dripping extrovert at this point. Um, so I'm a bit of a promoter on that end of things, but the the I probably started more on the landscape side of things. My degree is not in turf grass management; it's actually in horticulture.
Okay.
But I got a 4-year degree out of Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and I was just that industrious little boy with a lawn mowing route that was, probably more enamored with money as a kid, always having a buck in my pocket, sort of thing. Paid for my way through college, bought my first car myself, and I was a hustler. Just loved money. Sorry. Ugh.
Yeah, nothing wrong with
Um,
that.
Hey.
but at the same time, I was fortunate enough to run into somebody who kind of said, "Hey, you could do this as a profession," which I was like shocked. Didn't even like you can get a degree in this. And it just kind of went on from there. But I still went into college thinking that I was going to be, Joe Horticulture. Um, I did an internship at Walt Disney World Epcot,
Sick.
working for
That must have
Parks
been cool.
Horticulture. Oh my God, probably one of the best internship experiences I ever had. Working for Mickey was kind of cool in itself. Where, oddly enough, there's very few companies, large companies that you're kind of you're prideful in the fact that you work for a company like that. Working for Disney, when people say that, people are like, "Ooh, wow, that must be cool." And fortunately now I've kind of hit it again with the PGA Tour. Um, so from that standpoint, moving on from Disney, I was like, wow, I knew that plants and horticulture were kind of my thing, but my roommate at the time, Paul Cushing, who was huge into um, golf courses, and that was his track. He said, Why don't you try an internship at a golf course that has a lot of landscape?" So I said, okay. And I did one down close to my house down in San Diego and loved it. And then an opportunity came along for another internship at Pebble Beach at Spyglass Hill. And that was a 6-month internship there. And again, resort golf courses. Loved it. I loved what golf could do. I started playing golf at that first internship. I got golf lessons at a golf academy. So, and that's when I started to play golf. And I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm into golf. God, that sounds bad. Um, One of the rules officials would just say, "Yeah, golf is just not Thomas's game." Uh, I'm a plant guy. I'm a science guy. I like how things work. I'm a systems kind of approach kind of guy, methodical to a certain degree. I'm more interested in that than who's playing the course. Absolute respect golfers and the like. Hopefully, I don't get fired because I don't like golf. I like golf.
They
Um,
didn't hire you to go watch golf, Thomas. They
No,
hired
yeah,
you to
right.
help with
They
golf
hired me to watch
courses.
the grass, so at least they know that I'm doing that. So that's kind of the bent. And then, it was a back in the heyday of I graduated college in the mid 90s. Yeah, mid 90s now. And just a little bit of the heyday of golf where they were building golf courses like, we needed to build 300 a year for the next 10 years kind of thing to keep up with demand.
wow.
The Tiger scenario there. And I think I was an assistant for 2.5 years before I became a superintendent, which is frightfully scary. Um, and so, yeah, I was a superintendent at one course in the East Bay of California for about 5 years. And then I got Cal Club, was there for 15. And I got a call one day from Paul Vermillion, who's now my boss at Ponte Vedra PGA Tour. And he said, "Hey, what do you think about being a PGA Tour agronomist. And my first question back to him was, "What do you do?" So I don't know. I've got an atypical unicorn side on that. That most of our guys that come into the agronomy side of things are former tournament type superintendents. That either hosted events. I mean, our last three, you've got Tim Connolly that was at TPC Potomac or Avenel Quicken Loans. You've got Alex Studeman, who was multiple years at TPC Deer Run. Uh, PJ Ringenberger, who was in Napa at the Safeway days. All these guys had established relationships with either rules officials, agronomists, or the like, and showed enough like we must have type of qualities to get recruited. And I never hosted a PGA Tour event. And maybe they were looking for the diversity and inclusion kind of area in golf course superintendents. So maybe I checked some box to be a little different. Who knows? But it's hard to say why you got picked for anything. Um, on the emotional side of that scenario, I think when you're in your career path, whether it's golf course management or the like, there's some pretty cool takeaways that you can get that you would consider yourself blessed that the first time that somebody asks you to apply for a job because they think you're qualified, that's a pretty large accomplishment that people should relish in. That somebody thinks enough of you from as an assistant superintendent to apply for a superintendent's position that you've got some pretty good qualities that people want. Maybe you don't get that job the first time, but the fact that somebody thought enough to think of you is pretty cool. The same thing with getting this job. I find myself just in awe that somebody was watching from afar. I didn't know, and kind of said, "Well, we think you might be good at this." So I don't want to say that I know why. I don't. I just want to continue to be me in that respect. To be, if that's what they wanted, then maybe that's what they're gonna get. So
That's
So
awesome.
you mentioned that conversation with Paul. What does a PGA Tour agronomist do?
hmm.
Good timing to get that question in.
How much
I,
time do we have?
I had the exact same question too, so I'm glad we're all on the same page here.
Good, good.
Well, in its basic sense, when a tournament is to be hosted, we want to make sure that, call it, an unbiased voice, that somebody is not necessarily there for the club's interests in one respect, because a lot of these golf courses, it is in my best interest for the club, and maybe that's it. It's the best interest. I'm looking out for the best interest of the club. I'm looking out for the best interest of the PGA Tour. I'm looking out for the best interests of our players. So there's a thread of line there that I can't be concerned with what somebody says. It's just, I'm almost like a news reporter. It's just the facts. If our rules competition or the competition deems that greens are to be a certain speed, they're going to be that speed regardless of what somebody from the club, the superintendent, or our players want. And you have to put yourself in this Switzerland of things for that. So starting over with that question, you are an unbiased, neutral party to say what would be best for the competition. That's the 30,000-foot level, what guides decision making. From there, I think you have to be, and this is a work in progress, you got to start with a relationship. So you got to be good at making a relationship, building rapport. Can you start a conversation? Because you're going to have to start them. If you wait for things to come to you, you're going to be fighting from the back, and that's not what you want. You want to be in front of things. You want to know, and this has come with experience. I'm getting better at it. By no means am I a finished product. Um, it's what I call upstream thinking. What are things that are going to cause a problem that you can get in front of that nobody knows that you've solved? If a tournament goes smoothly, they have no clue the amount of things that we have thwarted in advance of that. And I would say that's just being a superintendent in itself. The job is you not being the superintendent, which was probably one of the hardest things to learn out of the gate, to take control. No, in very, very extreme circumstances would we ever consider that. And those extreme circumstances have been I've had to step in as an overriding person because the superintendent was out with cancer treatments, or the superintendent retires during advance week, and I'm the guy. And that's when the show must go on. You've got to be able to plug yourself in there. But I get more satisfaction out of the superintendent and or the directors, making it their own. And I'm just providing that little extra support. So, you could be contacting equipment manufacturers to bring loaner equipment because they don't know people. Finding volunteers, helping them make a volunteer packet, reaching out to industry people for support on that, uh, organization and building the superintendent's skill set themselves, teaching them new things. I'm a bit of a technology nut. So, first starting out with drones, showing the value of drones and how they might be able to add in daily planning. So there's a lot of different things that we end up doing. Major on the data side of things. I do that quite a bit, showing them that, data is there to act as a marker for repeat success. If we find success at this moisture, this firmness, and this green speed, what did we do to get there? And what do we do to repeat that the following year? That's a recipe for success. So it's finding out what those little markers are so that you can repeat that and become what I call a force multiplier for the superintendent. You know, you double his voice, double his ability to look at details. And sometimes you're like in it and running, and sometimes it's like these guys have got it. I mean, go down to Pebble Beach. I mean, it's like they do 2 to 3 professional events a year.
They're cruising down there,
It's
eh?
they kind of have it. Riviera, another one. Muirfield, another one. You're just little here, little there, those types of things, and being an extra set of eyes or somebody who knows what a shared empathetic view on what that superintendent is going through, confidant. Things don't always go well, even at those places. We get weather, you get no rain for 3 weeks, and it's stressful. And so having somebody there that is in the trenches with that superintendent is comforting. So
Yeah, you're kind of alongside them the whole time to put out all those little fires. Could
yeah,
you give
doctor,
any
yeah.
would you be able to give any examples of any big fires possibly without any names or courses or anything like that, but any times that you've been in a situation where it's like, okay, I can really do my job here and help out, and like you said, nobody would probably really know because things do go smoothly, but is there something that kind of comes to mind?
Well, the easy ones are the one I did down in Mexico with the superintendent that couldn't be there because of cancer.
Wow.
It's you're being the reassurance that even if that happens, the show will go on. We will be okay. Because the tour is planned for that. So that's a pretty big one,
Absolutely.
and the same with the superintendent not being there. Or here's one that it just happened. We got 3.5 inches of rain on the last day of the tournament that washed out 60% of the bunkers, and we were deciding whether or not we were going to play or not. And I just kind of said, and the superintendent helped, that it's like we're going to give it hell. We're going to delay tee times until the absolute latest that we can to still squeeze it in at 12 o'clock tee times. And we sure as shit are not going to leave this golf course with bunkers that are not repaired. The tour cannot let this happen that we're just going to go, oh, well, we just finished we're just not going to play the final round. See ya. Even if we had to cancel the round, we were not going to leave that place. I wasn't going to leave that place, like a frat party or something like that, And oddly enough, we put that thing together at the last minute and we finished all 18 holes and we had a champion. And that's the satisfying thing, that if you can give people reassurances that they can count on you to do those types of things. And I think that's just what superintendents embody as a whole. Any one of us as superintendents would do that, or I would say former has been, would do that for any other superintendent. That's why we're so successful recruiting volunteers, is because we have that desire to fix things and to help. My wife hates it sometimes, but all I want to do is fix things. She just wants me to listen. I don't do well with that, I guess.
Patience, right? You learn that on the golf
Oh,
course for sure.
yeah. My wife has a lot of patience for me.
Thomas, how do you mentioned kind of be in Switzerland and tour wants something, superintendent course may want something else. When those two aren't aligned, how do you go about tackling those types of situations?
Oh, um, the best I can. I don't know that every situation is exactly, maybe what I do is I'll wear you out. See, I'll be like, hey, starting stuff. You, I just, we don't need to do that. Some of the examples I'll use. Let's just say green speed. Let's say we're at odds with green speed or something like that, and I give them the look. We don't want to be number five, and they're like number five. Is like, okay, let me put it to you this way. Can we? I'm going to ask you guys this question now. Can you name 4 tournaments where green speed has caused an issue on the fast side of things?
Yes.
Okay, give me one. We're going to go back and
No.
forth. You one. Give me one.
No. No.
You can't?
No, I can. I just don't
Oh,
want to. I don't want to call anyone out like that. I've got friends in all these different places, man. I
okay,
can't do that.
fair enough. But we can say that we kind of know a
We've all
few.
seen it.
Yeah, you've
Yes.
all seen
Yes,
it.
we've all seen
Okay, we've all seen it. Perfect. Thank you. Learning. You're right. That would have been okay.
it.
But we've all been there. And I'm like, we don't want to be that. Nobody has ever been blamed for having greens that were good or um or too slow for that matter. I get sometimes there's a lot of that. Sometimes there's a 59 watch
Yeah.
where the club's officials come down on the superintendent and says the hell that somebody's going to shoot 59 at our golf course. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They don't
Um
stop play for slow greens, right?
and exactly. They don't.
And the players
And
won't
there's
complain, right? The like that's not
no,
an
they
issue.
don't. They're all playing the same golf course. And a lot of times we're so deliberate about where we are with these green speeds that we do it like the tournament that we had with the 3.5 inches of rain, our greens were maybe 10, but it was blowing 42.
Mm.
So it's like if we were out there cutting and rolling, and when the greens are when it's 42 miles, they think we'd lost our mind. And so you have to look at what's coming ahead, and the players understand that somebody's going to be watching on their behalf, so that doesn't happen. It's not that we don't want, give, props to the club for having the greatest greens in the world, but sometimes you can't win more than winning. There's no winning more kind of thing. And sometimes that's the approach I have to say. I'm like, dude, we can walk away from this and we've won. Stop. There's no more, there's no better winning. We've got this. You have been successful. Ride the pony to the end with the hands up. Touchdown. Let's go. Don't do this. We don't need to make this more complicated. And so I try to do that. And I've never had to say, I'm taking the keys away from you. Never. I
That's
hope
good.
I never do that. And if I say this as a, there's all these little catchphrases and stuff like that. It's like if I ever have to use because the PGA Tour said, I've either not invested enough in the relationship or I have failed. I mean, that's almost like the one I love to hear is like, well, I've been doing this for 30 years. And you're like, hey, you ever think you've been doing it for 30 years wrong? How many times have we been told don't eat the yolk, eat the yolk, you
Right.
know, you
Right.
know, these are bad for you, these are good for you, you know. Things change.
Things are always changing.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my
It's good.
example.
It's good.
I got a bit of a fun one here for you. I've wanted to ask this question for a long time, and I don't think I've ever really met the right person. I think you might be the one. I've always wondered about hole placements for a big tournament or, any PGA tournament. Is that something that is decided by the PGA or is it decided by the superintendent and their staff? Is that all predetermined? Is that something that gets kind of changed up as the weekend goes on? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So there's one agronomist that is on site and he's there the week before. There is one rules official that joins me. We call the advanced rules official. And that advanced rules official goes around the golf course with me. He starts laying out the penalty areas and getting the general feel of the golf course. On Monday of tournament week, a additional set of 7 to 8 rules officials come in, and there are two that are designated the front nine setup and the back nine setup. They will completely own where they're going with their hole locations, providing the right balance, providing the right test, providing the right locations, and metering out the competition over those 4 days. They will set a hole location for Wednesday's pro-am so that they don't, screw up the tournament hole locations.
Hmm.
I work in concert with them to make sure that areas that they want to use on a green work for their setup. It's not too fast. It's not too firm. It's not too anything. That if there's a unique place on the green that they want to use from a competition standpoint that they feel is challenging or the right amount of challenge, they employ me to make sure that those conditions meet that whole location's requirements. And that's where we work 100% lockstep with them to make sure that it works. That's why we control green speeds. Sure, we could always have faster green speeds, but then we would have pretty boring setups. And that's where I don't get it with country clubs. There's this masochistic approach to setting up the member guests and the like, where in some instances, our green speeds for the PGA Tour, we have to slow our greens down for our events compared to member events. And member events are also playing, usually it's a 1 day or a 2 day. They don't have to find 4 competitive hole locations for an event.
Right.
So yeah, they've got the one spot on the green that they can put the cup, but every year it ends up having to be the same spot. For us in some instances, it's usually the same thing. Sometimes we only have 4 locations because the way that the architecture of that hole works. But at the same time that members are wanting 13, they don't want rough that's 3.5 inches because they feel like they would be making the golf course, because they can't play it. They get upset when you take out a tree because they feel like you're making the golf course too easy. They want the greens to be so because they want it to be hard. It's this weird kind of like, I don't get. It's a disconnect. So that green speed is the driver of quality of a golf course, and it couldn't be farther with the truth. Fortunately, the GS3, the USGA ball, is going to give us a couple of more metrics to look at, like smoothness, that smoothness should be the priority over green speed.
We've
So
been playing around with that, and you've been testing that even before it was launched. How do you think that GS3 is going to change the industry?
I hope for the better, but there's obviously some minds that are there. You know, figuring out where to use it, how to use it, and the like is a little nebulous at best right now. So I think that I think that small communities of users will get together to share their experiences. We're starting to get into an area with some of these metrics that are spread across golf courses now and not course specific. Like, the best one to say is, like, if we go to uh, golf course A, and during the tournament we find out that the best moisture content in the greens is at 17%. That's what makes this golf course tick. I cannot take that 17% to the next golf course I go to, or the next golf course, or the next golf course. It is a metric unto that golf course, that's what that is.
Mhm.
Green speed, the same way. It is a metric to that golf course. Some golf courses have no more than 2.5% slope on their greens, and some have places that have 10. So you can't put the green speed in the same kind of parallel. Firmness is one that does kind of move across a couple of things, but even then, it's still, are your greens push up. You're more a victim of how your golf course was built, more so than what you can realistically do to your golf course. You can get it to trend better with sand top dressing and aerifications and those types of things. So now you get to two other metrics, which by and large, smoothness, trueness, I kind of treat the same. They if one goes up, the other one goes up. If one goes down, the other goes down. I haven't been able to pry apart the differences in their metrics. I'm really concentrated on the smoothness side of things. There's one that can move across golf courses. If you're putting a golf course and you putt one golf course one day, one golf course the next day at similar times, there's a quality there apart from green speed, moisture, firmness that carries from one golf course to the other. There's a characteristic there that becomes desirable, that I prefer smoother greens versus bumpy greens. And I think that's where there's some minefields to be had on how the metrics are treated, shared, and the like. So there's a pitfall to it, but at the same time, I think that green speed, hopefully, will take a back seat, because if you have faster, bumpier greens, I our players would prefer smoother, truer greens over faster greens, and that might change how we manage things. I think these new metrics will give us the ability to take opinion out of the equation. Well, I think our greens are better than yours. Well, now we're going to have some data that literally could add a component of, it's just the facts. They're not, or they are, or these are the best ones. Um, but I think there's a hesitancy on a lot of people to start posting what those are. There's also times at which, like, you can't have the smoothest greens all the time. So there's where I hope that we focus, is that you focus on when you need to be the smoothest for your event, and those things that contribute to that, more so than trying to, chase something that, much like anything, you can overdo everything.
Consistency is key. So if we're working off of the smoothness, then that could be something that could be really helpful for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm interested to see. It's so new, and we're a creative bunch as superintendents. So I'm
Hmm.
really interested to see what people do with it. I wish there's just a little bit more on how to get started rather than just doing it, so that um its use becomes that much more effective. I'll give the example, and maybe I'll help spread the word. And this is This is an opinion of Thomas, not anybody else's.
It's just an opinion.
Just an opinion. What do people say on their Twitter posts are my own or thoughts are my own sort of thing?
Right, right.
Qualification. I don't know if that's
You're not
precludes me
speaking
from
on
getting.
behalf of the tour here, right?
Yeah, I don't think that precludes me from getting fired, but
No, you're good.
we'll tread lightly here. So
Yeah.
hopefully this podcast stays in Canada. But I think if we're talking specifics on this, and I'll give some ranges. I give a bit of a talk that says that the smoothness component is on a scale from, I believe it's now 0 to 17. Okay. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the ball when I get it. Mine has been shipped to Muirfield already. The magic orb. I'm going to, 0 is considered glass. Okay, so I'm going to find either a concrete floor that is as smooth as a baby's butt, which would probably be Chad's maintenance facility floor, without the decorative cracks and the like. And then 17 is a gravel road, and I want to find a gravel road. Maybe it's the bogey lot or something like that, and roll the ball. And I want you to take a picture of me doing that, and we'll post that number. But in essence, it's saying that 0 is the starting point and 17 is the starting point. And that's been even weird in itself. I used to think it was 15, and then I was talking to one of the USGA guys, and he said, well, I saw 16 something. So I guess now the bar, it's an open-ended bar on the back end, but 17 would be an extreme example of like a triple aerified green with 50 tons to the acre of sand on top of it or something like that. So start with those metrics there. And then I was given a talk when I first started that 4 is considered a good green. And I would say it's not a great green. I would not say it's a bad green. I would say it's a meat and potatoes, solid green. And I would agree with that. So anything less than 4 starts to move on the high achiever. If you're in the 3s, I would consider that a very good putting surface. If you're in the 2s, I would say that is exceptional putting surface, especially on repeated days and the like. And I think that you have to look at 7-day averages on that. I have seen ones, upper ones, crazy
Wow.
smooth. You're like, whoa, wow, does this thing work? So you see that where you measure that, I believe from my perspective, because there's more than just smoothness and trueness on these things. There's green speed too.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
And
firmness.
and firmness. But as far as what's measured rolling,
Right.
using the ball and the like, I don't think that you should be getting your smoothness and trueness numbers from your stimp meter location. And I'll tell you why. There are very few places on a putting green that you can get a proper stimp reading. And the USGA wants you to fall within a certain amount of distance from a roll, what we call the out and the in, or the up and the down. They want you to stay within a certain inch requirement that is not overly sloping in one way or the other, but relatively level. If the ball can go out and come back on the same relative distance, you've got a good spot. And that would be a good stimp spot, even for normal golf balls, which I can't believe we now have to say normal golf balls. So when you get that, that's a stimp spot. But at the same time, if it's only one location on the green, how can you attribute for what golfers do to the green? So what we started doing is we started measuring. If you want to continue to use green speed, use your green speed spot, but on the actual app, you can check the metrics that you want it to actually store. So you can uncheck smoothness and you can uncheck trueness while still keeping the green speed. Okay, now you get that one. And that's a minimum of 6 rolls. That's 3 down, that's 3 back. And the USGA actually wants you to do 4 from what I understand. 4 down, 4 back to make sure that you get the stimp for that green. That's a lot. And Bluetooth, you can't roll more than 1 ball. So that's going to be a little bit of a time deal. And they're working on that as well. So now on the smoothness side of things, what we do is we follow the hole location. So we put a pace or two in front of the flag. We'll do two rolls. So one over, one back. Then we will move closer to the flag, either above it or below it by a couple of inches, making sure that we don't actually stimp into the
Make
hole.
it.
Yeah, make it. You're like, damn it. And we'll do a roll that way and a roll that way. And then we'll do the same pace or two behind the flag, and we'll go that way to that way. And at least there, we're kind of calling it the money putts. The putts as they get to the hole, where the rollout of that golf ball, it has a lot of eyes on it, where you're seeing it wobble, and because it's supposed to be slowing down in the area that you're supposed to be putting to. And every person that plays golf has to end there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the metric that you should be getting in the morning there. And you should equally be finding a time at the end of the day, whether it's at 2 o'clock, and finding this, making sure that you do it before first golfer, and then making sure at the end of the day, doing it at a specific time to account for consistency in the data collected. Like at 2 o'clock before everybody goes home, or 2:30, you go out to those three greens, you get the post, so that the amount of golfers that go and play on that specific day, they all end at the same spot. They have to putt into that hole, that you're getting the what I would call the putting area decline, so that you kind of see what's happening. You would find that, getting that one is quite an achievement, but what you finish at is probably a bigger achievement.
It's amazing.
So yeah, but so then we use the analogy. Well, what happens if your stimp meter location? Let's say you were getting your smoothness and trueness rolls at the stimp meter location, because you're trying to, do two things at one time here, or three, I should say. Let's say the stimp spot's back left, but your hole location's front right. It's going to be an atypical, review of your putting surface, because that stimp meter location is going to not move in theory. It will stay consistent. And let's say you got a three, it might be a 3.5, just because, grass grows and those types of things. But if the stimp meter location is next to where the hole location is, it might be a 7 or something like that. So you're getting this, you're getting invaluable information from that. And so that's why I'm kind of promoting, you should do it near the hole location for smoothness and trueness, and not necessarily do it at the same time that you're doing your stimp meter location. I mean, maybe in the morning, because the green should be relatively untouched, that you can kind of collect that, but the afternoon one should be using the hole location. And there's probably greens that you should disqualify just because of, architecture. The ball goes crazy and all that kind of stuff. And we're not concerned about whether or not the ball goes in curves or anything, because we're only trying to collect surface smoothness and trueness. And from what I understand, with that, you want to use the full stimp meter to get smoothness and trueness. And for green speed, you can use the 2x, because the number is pretty much determined within the first few seconds, that once it's figured out its rate of decline, that it pretty much figures out the green speed on that. And Chad's actually one that brought that up to me, and I'm working towards validating that. But I asked a USGA guy, and he said that's on par with what they've been seeing. So
Are they paying you commissions for this ball? Because I guarantee you have just sold multiple balls on this show. You're gonna have to tell people where they can get their hands on one of these, because this is something that's gonna change the game big time.
it could. I mean, and I would, just to make sure that I don't get this, I still have more faith in this the ball, the regular golf ball, for stimp, and maybe I'm old fashioned, and here I am. I'm now gonna beat up on myself when I tell people that, if they don't adopt technology, they're old fashioned. But here I am saying old fashioned. I like the old fashioned stimp. God, shoot me. You know this, Brian.
I do. I do.
But I can roll three golf balls, 1, 2, 3, with the stimp meter. I can go over, find the average of that, go 1, 2, 3, find the average of that and the average of the average, and I can get my stimp in record time compared to the GS3. I don't know that I would have the patience to necessarily roll a ball 8 times to get one measurement. I don't know. I can split the task up too. one person can be doing the stimp while I'm getting smoothness and trueness. And then, it just, we can split for competition data collection. And you still have to use a stimp meter. So I don't know. I think that it might have a little bit more work. There was a nice article that I thought was done by the USGA that talked about, believe it or not, people do suck at stimping greens.
Yeah,
And I
I see
have
that.
seen it. I
It's an
mean,
art.
you're like, and how do you tell a superintendent who's been a superintendent for 25 years? Yeah, you suck. You do. You don't quite say you suck. You'd be like, hey, so I noticed that when you bring that up, yeah, you don't have to go all the way back down again and go up. You can just kind of hold it there, balance the ball a little bit, and then just go up just a little bit. Hold. There you go.
Well,
Good. You get a treat.
unless you're
So
trying to manipulate numbers, then a little
yeah.
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit
Well,
of a
then we
dip or
just change
something.
golf balls.
Yeah, there you
So
go.
there are some golf balls that actually roll a little slower than the other ones. So
Really?
Interesting.
I'm not going to name names.
That's okay. That's okay.
So any event, there's a lot still to be figured out with that ball.
Yeah, that's a good start. Thomas, we've talked on here about getting involved in tournaments. We get some, Adam sees it on Instagram quite a bit. People asking questions about how they can get involved, whether to volunteer or something like that at some of these tour events. Do you have any recommendations for people that might want to get some tournament experience?
Absolutely. First, follow us on Twitter, and I'm still trying to. I've got a Threads account. I have an Instagram, but I'm trying to like divest it from my personal account. It gets confused. Facebook, it's tech guy. She just needs to spend a little time with somebody who's an Instagram like savant, and maybe you can help me.
The other guy
So,
over here can help you
We
for
could help
sure.
for sure.
oh, please, I need desperate help. Um, so at PGA Tour Agronomy, I think we're somewhere in the 7,000s now. I think you've got me now. You've caught me.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
caught us, I should say, because I do it. I manage the Twitter handle on behalf of our agronomy department, and we started the agronomy Twitter handle, or X.
Yeah, I still call it Twitter too. It's
Yeah, I
fine.
don't. It's a
But
tough one.
we did it for that exact reason, which was to provide a place that if somebody wanted to volunteer, and I make it so that um I follow you back if you have a turf-esque maintenance background. You could be
Yep.
a supplier, distributor, and anything, but you'd be surprised how many people, and I look at your description.
Yep.
So, turf enthusiast, turf student, turf something, golf course manager, intern, whatever, turf grass researcher, whatever. I will follow those back. Some don't have descriptions. Some have 3 followers. I require at least, a few. And I look at what you're following to see that you are indeed into more than just sports, which
Mhm.
is a lot. So
And
I
look at
try
their
to
posts
get,
too. You look at their posts, and if they don't have like one turf related post in the last 10, it's like, I don't know. Yeah, I do
yeah.
that too,
So
Thomas.
it's kind of weird to kind of like vet that out, and I do, so I don't get as many bots and the like. But
Yep.
and so I do that so you can direct message us, because you
Hmm.
can't direct message somebody unless you're in comments, and then you can do it there. But just to provide people, like, we will pair you up with any tournament that works for you. If you want a small experience, if you want a large experience, if you can only volunteer at the end of the year, at the beginning of the year. We get a lot of Canadians
Oh yeah.
from January till about the beginning of April. And
People
April's a
want to
little
be
bit
out of
of
here
a
right
push.
when it's nice and cold and frosty.
Yeah. And so Cabo San Lucas tends to be a huge draw. Riviera, huge draw. Bay Hill, huge draw.
There you go.
Um, and so we're willing to put you together on those types of things, to make sure that something fits for you. Sometimes people are looking for a particular experience. Like, we had guys that specifically requested, and this was the guys out of Seymour uh, uh, Golf Club out in Vancouver. They wanted to be on the bunker crew, and it was awesome. Derek came down, and and was in the bunkers of Riviera. To say that I worked in the bunkers at Riviera, because I mean those bunkers are they're pretty badass.
Yeah.
So
Iconic.
yeah, exactly. So to say that you did that one year is awesome. And so we try to make those things happen. I was just watching John Ballard and the your video on volunteers, and we try to have
Mhm.
fun. You know, look, our deal is not to beat you into submission and do what we want. We want you to get the networking opportunity side of things, the skill development at a higher level, to see how an extreme organization happens. I try to spend any amount of time that I can with somebody who wants to know behind the scenes, what we're doing, how we do it. If they're not on the data team, I'll show them how we do it. I'll give you an introduction to how we manage it, how we record it, how we do anything. Um, I've
And
actually
you've got
just
a
created,
lot to teach people on that. I've seen the insides of it, like the 2x times the one down plus
yeah.
this and that. You've got some great algorithms and all that fun stuff going on.
Wait till you see my new hand watering one where we take
Uh-oh.
this is the greatest one. This is the newer one that I'm perfecting. And I've just created these custom poker chips. I used Benton
Nice.
Hodges is a guy that's new and upcoming on the turf grass side of things with technology. And he started a WhatsApp chat group, and he uses AI to generate um, images, AI image generation. And some of these things are freaking awesome. And I'm like, I want to create a poker chip for hand watering. And you're like, well, why do you do that? Well, okay. So the red poker chip is when you're out with your TDR and you're
I
measuring and
like
you want to
this.
do hot spots. A lot of times we don't necessarily have the staff from that club managing that. Sometimes we have former assistants, new people that come in that have a high degree of skill, but they don't know the greens yet. And so we have blue, wet, red poker chips for hot that as they're doing the TDR, so they don't forget that, after 25 spots that you're kind of like, ooh, that one's hot, that one's not, that one's hot, that one's not, that one's hot. You can drop a poker chip in the areas that you need to address from a hand watering perspective. And then there's the blue one to
Nice.
stay away from. You're like, ooh, wow, I didn't know that would have been. And so you can put that one there. And you
Nice.
start using these poker chips, and they have a PGA Tour agronomy and
Nice.
an AI generated little hose on a green, which was awesome that he helped me create those.
That's
And
cool.
then if you're successful, I've created the hand watering guru poker chip that you can
Nice.
earn from us on that. I don't know, it's just kind of goofy stuff, but
That's a lot of
Awesome.
fun.
one of the ways that we're teaching, I'm now employing for hand watering, is we rely a lot upon somebody's best intuition, the green thumbing of things in this industry, which is still an art, of how much water to put out. A lot of times we want to lock in a moisture percentage. Like for instance, for a particular golf course, we want to hold a certain percentage. Okay, we've bottomed to a point at which we're not wilting too hard. We're a little bit on the edge, but let's say we want to hold it at 15%. So I like to use inch and a half tines when we do a TDR, because in reality, I'm not trying to water anything below that for the tournament. I'm trying to manage this top area there. So what we do is with my drone flying alike, I'll get a rough square footage of each one of the greens. And so I will put them into groups like holes 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Such as, for instance, all the even number greens are 6,000 square feet, and all the odd number greens are 4,000 square feet. And so I'll figure that out ahead of time, and I'll say, okay, for these greens, these are the 6,000s and these are the 4,000s. And we'll do a quick estimate as to how much water the hose puts out. Like we'll take a 20-gallon garbage can, go to the quick coupler, turn on the hose, and we'll time it. How long did it take to fill up 20 gallons? Is it a minute? Is it 30 seconds? And we'll get that. And then we'll go, okay, so we're using an inch and a half time. If we lose 2% on a green, how much water loss is that? And we'll show them how to do the calculation. Okay, we've got we'll do 1,000 square feet right off the bat, and 1,000 square feet and an inch and a half. Okay, and an inch and a half is 0.125 0.125 feet expressed as a decimal. So that times 1,000 equals 125 cubic feet. Okay.
You're doing
Everybody on
math,
board?
Thomas. You lost me already. So you continue though, because I'm sure everyone else gets it.
Okay.
I'm a
An
communication guy.
inch and
Come
a
on.
half over 1,000 square feet equals 125 cubic feet. There we go. There are 7.5 gallons of water in 1 cubic foot. So there's 937 gallons, 937 and a half gallons in that inch and a half that if you were to core out a green at 1,000 square feet all the way around and fill it with water, it would be 937 and a
Wow.
half gallons. And if we lost 1% of that, we would lose 9.37 gallons. And if the hose puts out roughly 20 gallons per minute, it would take us 30 seconds to fill that, essentially that 9.3 gallons or 10 gallons, even numbers here. So over 1,000 square feet, if I wanted to raise it 1%, we would walk across it for 30 seconds. So we're starting to do a little bit of this by timing so that we can kind of gauge so we're not over applying water and the like. So
Man,
that's kind of one of the newer
I
tricks.
like it. I
Not
like
always
it.
tricks, but it's just
I'm gonna have to get my. Can I like be gifted one of these hand watering masters? Just like I don't know, out of the kindness of your heart or something.
Hmm. Want to
I
be on
need
the
something
program.
for.
All right.
I need something
We've,
from the
we've
metal board.
we've really gone down a rabbit hole of tips and tricks here. So
Yeah, well,
It's all
along
good
those
stuff.
lines, we want to be respectful of your time and everything. Appreciate you coming on again last minute. Adam, you got any other questions here to wrap things up?
No, I wanted to say thank you. And like you said, Brian, we've had a lot of people reaching out about volunteering for the tournaments. So if there's a way we can help get people connected to you, Thomas, maybe there's a form we could create and put it in our link in our bio in our link tree. That way people could be contacting you and let you know kind of what they're looking for in a volunteer role.
absolutely. Yeah, that'd be great. We'd certainly appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything
We'll
else you want
work
to
on that.
promote, Thomas? You got anything else? You got anything else going on aside from your PGA Tour agronomy, X, Twitter, whatever that is, Instagram, trying to get anything else you want to talk about?
Grater's ice cream. It's
Dude,
great.
I,
Here we
I
go.
wasn't gonna leave this podcast without saying I owe you, some graders and some Sauvignon Blanc. So we might
That's
still
right.
have that bottle of Sauvignon Blanc in the fridge from like
That's
40 years
right.
ago.
Yeah,
But
because nobody else drinks that swill.
that's all right. We'll have you back over to Twisted Paul, and you can make fun of my greenkeeping abilities, and we'll get you some ice cream and some wine. But
All right.
awesome. Hey man,
Perfect.
thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on, and I look forward to seeing you here in a couple weeks in Ohio.
You bet. All right. We'll see you soon.
All right,
Yeah,
man.
thanks a
Take
lot for
care,
this,
Thomas.
Thomas.
Bye.
There we go.
We were supposed to put one quarter in him. I think we put a couple extras. That guy could talk. I love it.
He's fantastic, man. He is fantastic. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
I've been working with him for, like he said, he's been on the tour for 7 years now, and
mhm.
I've been involved at the memorial for quite a long time now as well. And so I've gotten to work with Thomas on several occasions back when I was helping with the data team out there to, now just kind of walking around and cruising around with cameras and stuff. I've done a lot with Thomas and just gotten to know him really well. He's a phenomenal guy. It's a very interesting position. Listening to him talk about everything that he does is there's a lot involved. There's definitely a lot involved, and a lot of it again is, I mean, it's being a friend at times, walking people off ledges and so
Mhm.
forth. It's because it's tournament time can be stressful. So he's a nice sounding board at times, and can help calm people down. Remind them it's okay, everything's going to be okay. Let's just trust the process and keep going. So he's excellent at what he does. A great person. Love spending time with him every time he comes to Ohio. We get to spend a lot of time together, and yeah, what a great guest there.
Yeah, absolutely. I love learning about his job and that whole role because that's something I didn't really know a whole lot about. And it sounds like he's the perfect guy for that situation, that role, kind of being a liaison the whole weekend or the whole week between everybody. So It was great having him on. I'm sure we'll get some questions from the community and stuff over the next little while. He'd probably be somebody we could bring back on and
I,
go over some other stuff. I'm sure
I've
he.
got so many questions I'd like to ask
Oh
him.
yeah, he could
There were so
probably.
many times where he'd say something and be like, "Oh, I've got a great follow up here, but man, I know he's got to get going. We've got a lot to do." But yeah, man, we could talk to him for hours.
Oh yeah, that could be a series for sure.
Yeah, yeah, no question.
But I know you got to get back out on the course. Was there anything else you wanted to address this week?
No, man, no, just we're just gonna keep on keeping on. So we'll keep pushing some footage out here and get ready for next week. So I'll be in Texas next week for the Schwab.
There you go. Yeah, it just keeps rolling. I was going to ask you about food. We can't leave here without talking about some food. You're down in Kentucky right now. Has there been anything special, any delicacies or anything?
No, not yet, man. The hotel I'm staying at, there's not a whole lot around us, so I haven't gotten to experience much of the local fare here. But and most of the meals have been in the volunteer tent. And this morning was breakfast burritos and some fruit and that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, unfortunately, haven't been able to get out and enjoy whether it's I don't even know what they'd be known for. I don't know if it's the ribs, if it's what their thing is in this area, but I'm gonna have to seek something out.
My guess is fried chicken, but that's just being a
True,
Canadian
true.
thinking Kentucky
Yeah,
fried
Kentucky
chicken. I
Fried
don't know.
Chicken. Yeah, little Colonel Sanders action.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no, haven't been able to experience any of that. So we'll see if we get some time to venture out a little bit later on this week, and I'll report back to you.
Nice. Yeah, that'd be good. Keep people up to date.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, buddy. Well, hopefully the rain subsides and it's not too wet of a day out there. You guys can get out and get some work done. And yeah, send me some footage. We'll put it out. And I know we've had a lot of interest on people looking at all the stuff at Valhalla there. So we'll just keep pumping it out.
Love it, love it. Appreciate it, man.
All right, buddy. Well, have a good one. And to everybody out there, keep those reels sharp. We will see you next week. And taking us home today, the newest hit from Boston Levi.
Your pretty little heartbreak, pretty little runaway. But you got your mini skirt, you're showing some skin. I think there's something going on, babe, between you and him. But you got your sunshade, you're showing your eyes. That I'm catching on, babe, to your disguise, your pretty little heartbreak, pretty little runaway. Come on and hit me with your heartache, your pretty little heartbreak. You got your high heel in a pearly white gown. You're cursing my name all over my side of town. But I'll show up too drunk, get on up in his face, and we'll have it out, babe, in the middle of the promenade.